This is 9 News Canberra with Vanessa O'Hanlon.
Good evening. Senator Bernardi looks set to hit the nuclear button and split with the Liberal Party. The move will likely increase tensions between factions inside the coalition and heap more misery on the Prime Minister, already under pressure after another set of bleak poll numbers today.
Back in Canberra for the new parliamentary year.
Can I squeeze past?
To a conservative political landscape shifting underfoot.
We'll just wait and see what does come to pass.
Bernardi's been teasing, threatening, talking about it for months without jumping, but now he seems ready to take the plunge.
I'm confident that Corey is someone of his word, and his words have been very clearly that he believes we are stronger united.
The rogue South Australian silence was today deafening. His refusal to rule out a split, fuel on the fire of speculation.
We are the home of conservative thought in Australia, and that is going to continue.
His departure to the crossbench threatens to fragment the Conservative vote, damage the Liberals, with ministers reminding Bernardi he owes the party some loyalty.
He was elected as a Liberal senator by Liberal voters to support the Liberal Party in this parliament and be part of our team. What he chooses to do is for him to decide.
Whilst the Liberals are focused on their own jobs and the jobs of their leader, what we want to do in Labor is focus on the priorities of everyday Australians.
Fellow Conservatives Erica Betts and George Christensen have denied they'll join the new Bernardi bandwagon.
We can push those conservative issues that a lot of the rank and file are concerned about within the government.
As if this wasn't enough for Malcolm Turnbull, the latest poll has the coalition at its lowest level in 2 years. Malcolm Turnbull still the preferred Prime Minister, but after preferences, the coalition trails Labor by a massive 46 to 54, with its primary vote down 4 to 35, one behind the ALP. The minor parties and independents have soared to 19%, Pauline Hanson's One Nation at 8.
If we want to do better, we obviously need to change to deal with the conservative base issues, but also deal with the bread and butter issues and get things done.
People are looking for someone else to vote for, Carl. That's what it's about. They're not addressing the needs and concerns of the Australian people.
An uneasy truce at the traditional war memorial ceremony before tomorrow's parliamentary hostilities. Lane Calcutt, 9 News.
And a short time ago, the Nine Network's political editor, Laurie Oakes, filed this report on whether Bernardi's decision could cause long-term damage to the coalition.
Assuming Bernardi goes ahead with the split tomorrow, and that's looking just about certain, the immediate effect will be one less coalition senator, one more independent. But he'd still vote with the government on most issues, so that's no biggie really. A greater problem is perception. Here's the Turnbull government scraping the bottom in opinion polls. There's renewed talk about Malcolm Turnbull's leadership, and now rats are deserting the sinking ship. The poor old Prime Minister can't take a trick. One consolation for him, though, is that Senator Bernardi's departure from the Liberal Party would also mean one less vote against him in any leadership challenge. A really important question is whether any other coalition MPs or senators will join his Australian Conservatives Party. So far, there are no signs of that. Also important, what degree of electoral support are the maverick senator and his new party likely to attract? He might do okay in his home state of South Australia, but elsewhere? Well, he doesn't have anything like Pauline Hanson's profile. My feeling is that One Nation is more likely to attract disaffected voters on the right. Bernardi's inspired by what's happened in the US, but he's no Donald Trump. He can still cause Malcolm Turnbull plenty of political pain, though.
Politicians arriving in Canberra for the start of the parliamentary year have been greeted with a reminder of a key community issue. The Canberra Airport has joined a new nationwide push for MPs to be given a free vote on same-sex marriage.
It's an issue Canberrans feel particularly strongly about.
It's a matter of conscience, the right to be able to marry for all Australians. It's only fair.
The ACT was the first jurisdiction to legalise same-sex marriage in 2013, albeit briefly. Now, as the parliamentary year begins and talk of the debate reignites, the capital has joined a new national campaign on the issue.
Welcome back to the federal politicians for 2017. and we'll come back to confronting the issue of marriage equality, which is only fair for all Australians to have access to.
Those behind the renewed push hope the billboards will encourage the coalition to allow a free vote on the issue.
This is about giving politicians the ability to have their say in the parliament, whether they're supporters or not. Our view is that they should be able to have that view and to be able to express that view in the parliament.
It's not just billboards which will catch the eyes of politicians coming into Canberra this week. Tonight, the airport will light up the colours of the rainbow to really drive home the message. ACT policymakers believe the Turnbull government shouldn't weigh too heavily on the effect of going back on an election commitment.
I don't think it's a wrong thing for a government to change its mind, and particularly on something like this where we know that the community is so passionate about it.
While Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has said the coalition won't abandon the plebiscite policy, marriage equality advocates hope this campaign will push the issue onto the party room agenda. Vanessa?
6 people have been arrested in a mind-boggling cocaine bust off the coast of New South Wales. Almost 1.5 tons of the drug, with a street value of more than $300 million, was discovered on a yacht. The operation was the culmination of a 2.5-year investigation into an alleged international drug network.
We are locking up more people. We are seizing more of their assets. The penalties are extremely stiff, up to life imprisonment. But whilst we have a significant demand problem for drugs in Australia, people will try and provide that supply.
It is the biggest ever cocaine seizure by Australian Federal Police. A 20-year-old Victorian woman has been killed in a jet ski tragedy in Thailand. Grief-stricken family have described Emily Jane Colley as their princess. She was on the trip of a lifetime with her boyfriend, who could now face negligence charges.
A month away from her 21st birthday, Emily Colley died in sudden and devastating circumstances. She was jet skiing in Thailand at Kutta Beach near Phuket, celebrating a getaway with her boyfriend Tommy when their jet skis collided. Lifeguards and onlookers rushed to the couple's aid, performing CPR on Emily, but her injuries were too severe. Tommy then called the family in Kyalla and told them the tragic news. As they came to terms with Emily's death, they paid tribute. Emily was our princess. Everything shined bright when she was around. She was the most caring person and deeply loved her family more than anything in the world. She's left a hole in our hearts. As Emily's parents flew to Thailand this afternoon, messages flooded social media. She was a gorgeous girl and a beautiful friend. I was inspired by you in so many ways. You were so strong and determined. Can't accept the fact that such a beautiful person has been taken away too early. I feel privileged to have had a friend like you. It prompted a touching response. The family would like to thank everyone for the love and support during this difficult time. Emily studied here at Goulburn Valley Grammar School and had just been accepted into La Trobe University to complete the final year of her pharmacy degree, following in the footsteps of her father, who works as a pharmacist in nearby Kyabram. The school remembered her as a high-performing student in Year 12. Compassion and caring for others were hallmarks of Emily's character, while the family said she was looking forward to celebrating her 21st birthday this year and completing her pharmacy degree. Emily Colley was the youngest of 4 children and an auntie to 2 young boys. Kieran Jones, 9 News.
After disappointing Christmas sales, Australians are being warned that more retailers will collapse this year under the pressure of fierce price competition. But until that happens, it's great news for consumers.
Shoppers are winners for now, but some say it could be curtains for at least 7 of Australia's best-known fashion retailers.
They would definitely be household brands. They're with turnover of more than $100 million, so definitely be brands that we know.
The cause is a combination of aggressive new foreign retailers and heavy discounting.
In order to compete with some of the international brands, the domestic brands have had to reduce margin.
We are going to see some more retailers fall over as we go into 2017.
Less margin equals less profit, or worse, loss. Already this year, Marks and David Lawrence have gone into administration. Last year, Pumpkin Patch and Payless Shoes, among others, collapsed.
Potentially your business or your job is at risk, then there's going to be concern right through the industry.
Christmas sales went backwards due to a huge 2.3% decline in household goods. Food rose 0.5%, while clothing sales leapt 1.4%. We spent collectively $25 billion in December. That's 3% more than last year, but there was less on hardware in December as Woolworths' Masters business was cleared out and closed down.
There's no doubt that the big impact on that figure today is the Masters effect.
As Masters closed its 62 stores in December, it's cut its prices heavily to get rid of excess stock. Now Bunnings, which has got a policy of matching its competitors, did the same thing. But now that Masters is gone, the competition is less, so the very heavy discounting will now end. Ross Greenwood, 9 News.
There's been a huge setback for Donald Trump, an appeals court refusing to reinstate the travel ban that's ignited a firestorm in America and around the globe. It came as the US president revealed more about what he thinks of Vladimir Putin, his remarks raising plenty of eyebrows.
Approved visa holders arrived to begin their American lives. Reunions with family members already here, emotional and full of relief.
Being banned over my parents' heritage was an unfair treatment.
Stung by his court snub, President Trump demanded Homeland Security maintain extreme vigilance. He also attacked the judge who second-guessed his temporary travel ban. Just cannot believe a judge would put our country in such peril. If something happens, blame him and court system. People pouring in, bad.
The administration is complying with that order.
Putting legal issues aside, the president watched himself on the pre-game Super Bowl show, talking about his admiration for Vladimir Putin. Dropping a clanger.
Putin's a killer. A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why do you think our country's so innocent?
That comparison didn't go down well with his fellow Republicans.
There is no moral equivalency between the United States of America, the greatest freedom-loving nation in the history of the world, and the murderous thugs that are in Putin's defense of his cronyism.
President Trump will meet his military leaders tomorrow. He wants them to start working on how they can partner with the Russian Defence Force, using combined weapons to attack ISIS in Syria and Iraq. It's a high-risk strategy that could also eliminate the urgency to accept refugees from the two troubled countries. In the United States, Darren Curtis, 9 News.
One of the state's oldest cities is about to get a multi-million-dollar facelift. Plans have been unveiled today to revitalise the main business areas of Queanbeyan. Harry Frost has our report.
New plans for an overhaul of an old town centre.
We're looking at a mix of commercial, residential developments.
Included in the proposal, the revamp of 4 city blocks in the heart of Queanbeyan's town centre, a cinema and more parking, with the council's 11 offices condensed into one.
Being more efficient with relocating our staff into a purpose-built building along with a significant government agency, we'll be freeing up a lot of space.
And it's hoped freeing up a lot of money, with the combined price tag of the 10-year project expected to come to $400 million. Despite the end of Mike Baird's reign as Premier throwing the future of the newly merged council into doubt, the Deputy Premier says the overhaul will go ahead.
Regardless of what happens in the local government sector from a state government perspective, this project today is one that is driven by the local community and local council.
While the pace of redevelopment is unlikely to be rapid with the plan spread over a decade, locals say any investment is an improvement.
Just needs a revamp, just needs a bit of life in the city. Obviously we'd need to see more of the details, and I suppose that'll be announced in good time.
Businesses too hoping the project will improve trade.
Probably brings more people into town. Yeah, it'd be good for the community, I suppose.
The council says it will consult with the community on the proposals in the coming months.
Let's go live now to Harry Frost in Canberra. And Harry, this will all go ahead even if the state government doesn't chip in.
That's right, Vanessa. It's a hugely ambitious project, an expensive one, but the council's administrator is confident he'll be able to go ahead with the project through the sale of existing council buildings that will now be vacant, as well as private-public partnerships, and also without raising rates. Of course, those in the Greater Canberra region might be asking themselves, what's in it for me? But the government and also the council say that in the coming months there'll be further announcements about upgrades to town centres. Vanessa?
Has been warned. ACT police have speeding drivers in their sights this month, with 10 fatalities on Canberra's roads last year. Authorities say road safety messages aren't getting through.
I can only speculate on what the families must go through when they get the knock on the door by a police officer that has to pass on that tragic news. And for a police officer, again, knowing that it may have been preventable or would have been preventable had people been sticking to the speed limits.
Police warn drivers caught speeding face heavy fines and possible loss of licence. ACT police are investigating a brawl which broke out at Rose Cottage on Saturday night. Police were called to the popular Gilmore Function Centre at around 10:30 with reports of a fight. Task Force Nemesis, which specialises in outlaw bikie crime, will be assisting with the investigation, and anyone with information is urged to contact police. A new block of units in Lynham has been handed over to Housing ACT today. 14 one-bedroom units were constructed in Goodwin Street as part of the Public Housing Renewal Scheme. The ACT government says it's on track to deliver 1,200 new public housing dwellings by 2019, with 200 to be handed over this year. A woman has been injured following a house fire in Belconnen this morning. Fire and rescue crews arrived at the fire shortly after 11:30 this morning. The woman was treated by paramedics at the scene before being transferred to Canberra Hospital in a stable condition. The cause of the fire is being investigated. Initial estimates put the damage bill at around $400,000. Ahead in the news, work begins to put a smile on the face of a sick toddler. A warning about herbal medicines, what's really in natural supplements. And in his only television interview, Ricky Stewart's reaction to the Raiders' disappointing Nines campaign. Police have made a new push for any information on a missing Korean man who they believe has been murdered. 52-year-old Sang-Don Yo was last seen in the Sydney suburb of Lincoln almost 4 years ago. A short time after his disappearance, this man was seen at Sydney Airport with Mr Yo's wife. Detectives say he's the key to solving the mystery.
I want to find out, what's going on, and please help me, to find my brother.
If you have any information, please contact Crime Stoppers. Shocking and disturbing figures released today show the alarming scale of child sex abuse in the Catholic Church in Australia. Emotions ran high as the Royal Commission into Institutional Sexual Abuse moved to Sydney today.
For the first time, the dark secrets of Australia's Catholic Church revealed. Between 1980 and 2015, there were nearly 4,500 claims of child sexual abuse. The number of priests turned alleged paedophiles was staggering.
Overall, 7% of priests were alleged perpetrators.
Francis Sullivan is the head of the Catholic Church's body that dealt with the abuse claims. He broke down when he recounted that over a 6-decade period, 1,200 priests had abuse claims levelled at them.
These numbers are shocking. They are tragic and they are indefensible.
Some Catholic religious orders had appallingly high numbers of alleged abusers. 40.9% of St John of God brothers were accused perpetrators. Marist brothers, 20.4%.
As Catholics, we hang our heads in shame.
The average age of the victims, 10.5 for girls, 11.5 for boys. On average, they waited 33 years to claim. Gabrielle Short was a victim. She didn't buy Mr Sullivan's remorse.
To be honest, we actually walked out because we're tired of hearing just talk.
And there was anger. The Vatican has refused to hand over files on some of the perpetrators. Over the next 3 weeks, Catholic archbishops and bishops will appear before the Royal Commission. They won't be dwelling on individual cases. Instead, there'll be questions about how the abuse happened and what steps have been taken to prevent it from happening in the future. Mark Burrows, 9 News.
Australia's long-awaited media reforms will be debated in the Senate, but we don't know just when. Communications Minister Mitch Fifield says changes, which include a review of what major sporting events must be shown on free-to-air television, are underway.
there was to be any change to the anti-siphoning list in the future, there would need to be, I think, a good community understanding and also broad parliamentary consensus.
The Minister also welcomed the Nine Network's new local news bulletin in Canberra, the first of 15 to be rolled out across Australia. Ahead in the news, to France first, the woman who wants to follow in the footsteps of Brexit and Donald Trump. And hidden danger, what you need to know about the risk of herbal medicine. Natural does not always mean nice, and some herbal medicines are under the microscope for doing more harm than good. That's led to calls for greater regulation of the big money spinning business.
Lisa Hampshire was crippled with anxiety when she turned to St John's wort, a natural remedy.
I did think it would be safer. I didn't think I'd get any side effects from it.
But 2 weeks after taking it, her mental state spiralled out of control.
3 to 4 panic attacks a day.
A review into herbal medicines published in the Medical Journal of Australia found natural remedies can have dire side effects, may contain toxic substances, and the industry lacks regulation.
We just don't know sometimes what's in the preparations we're taking.
One major concern is fewer than half of patients tell their GP they're taking herbal remedies, which, when mixed with prescribed drugs, can trigger dangerous reactions.
They can block the way they work. St John's wort can actually reduce the effect of the warfarin, so you're more predisposed to clotting. Other herbal products can interfere with anti-cancer drugs.
The review also found some herbal medicines bought online contained toxic substances such as arsenic, lead, mercury, copper and iron, the effects of which include kidney and liver failure, exacerbation of pre-existing conditions and death. The Therapeutic Goods Administration rubbished the report, saying all active ingredients must be declared on the product label along with warnings. And where the TGA has come across adulterated herbal medicines, these have been illegally imported and are generally purchased over the internet.
It's a pretty light touch approach.
Late this afternoon, the TGA was forced to issue warnings on 3 so-called herbal products that actually contain the active ingredient in Viagra. The advice is to never buy herbal medicines online.
I'm too scared now to take anything natural. I go and get something prescribed.
Sophie Walsh, 9 News.
She's one of France's most controversial figures. Now Marine Le Pen is eyeing off the country's top job, launching her campaign for the presidency. The far-right leader has made as many fans as enemies with her anti-Islamic remarks and a promise of a crackdown on immigration.
It is the most unpredictable, most contentious French election in decades, and at the centre of it all is Marine Le Pen, the woman who wants to make France great again. In front of 2,000 people in Lyon, the leader of the far-right nationalist party Front National officially launched her bid to be president. After revealing her 144-point plan to, in her words, rebuild France.
She borrowed from the left, she borrowed from the right, and in the last few years she's proved even more popular with the French.
Following in the footsteps of Brexiteers, Le Pen wants France to leave the EU. And just like Donald Trump, she wants an immigration overhaul. And she has long spouted anti-Islamic sentiments.
She's really a danger, if you'd like, to, I would say, French democracy. But she's playing the democratic game very, very well.
Le Pen has also promised to lower the retirement age, raise welfare benefits and cut income tax. And the disenchanted French are lapping it up. It may have been a slow and steady rise to this point, but no one can deny the hype around Marine Le Pen and her campaign. As voters here in France demand change, support is only building.
It's the only one that I can support, in fact.
It is a sentiment shared by voters all over the country. And while a win for the divisive politician would be controversial, it is by no means impossible. As Marine Le Pen said herself, the tide of history has turned. In Lyon, France, Amelia Ballinger, 9 News.
The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and Prince Harry have squared off on the track, the royals taking part in a charity race in London. Prince Harry proved that red does go faster, but he still has a distance to cover before he catches up with his grandmother. Queen Elizabeth today made history as the first British monarch to reach a Sapphire Jubilee, sitting on the throne for 65 years. Coming up in 9 News, New South Wales swelters through another day of scorching heat, and work begins to help make a sick toddler's dream come true. Like much of New South Wales, Sydney came within a whisker of breaking a summer heat record today. It was the last thing police and firefighters wanted after revealing they're on the hunt for an arsonist who started a bushfire in the city's north.
It took firefighters hours in extreme heat to bring this bushfire at Barara under control. Then came this shocking development.
That fire may well have been deliberately lit.
Police are now trying to identify the firebug after crucial evidence was found at the scene.
We have forensic investigators and fire investigators down there at the moment.
Today's hot conditions also put our emergency services on high alert. Firefighters received calls from residents on the northern beaches concerned by smoke. It was actually sea mist.
Those warm sea surface temperatures that allowed some low cloud to form, so it comes off the water in those really warm temperatures and just pushes in on over the coast.
In Bankstown, workers were feeling the heat as temperatures climbed close to 40 degrees. Birrong Leisure Centre proving a popular place to make a splash.
It's much hotter than I thought it was going to be.
Great place to cool down, you know, hot day.
But if you wanted to escape the crowds, the Georges River was another good choice.
We've got the beach all to ourselves. We have a barbecue and a swim.
As the day wore on, once again we fell just short of breaking the record of the most summer days above 35 degrees. But we did have our thirstiest day. Yesterday we used 2.2 billion litres of water, equivalent to 8.8 billion glasses. Sydney Water's highest day of demand in 14 years. So we'll drink to that and wait for the cool change to arrive. Kate Creedon, 9 News.
A huge community effort is underway in Canberra to help turn a young girl's dream into reality. By the time the 3-year-old returns home from hospital, she'll notice quite a difference to the family home.
A backyard being transformed thanks to the generosity of local tradies and businesses.
Well, we're just starting demolishing the backyard now, making a great big mess.
They are building a princess playground for little Annabelle Potts, who's terminally ill after being diagnosed with a highly aggressive brain tumour in December. The family, who spends most of their time in Sydney for the 3-year-old's radiation therapy, will soon have a reason to smile.
They're going to be so happy with everything that's happened and so appreciative. Yeah, they wouldn't expect it at all.
While they're away, dozens of people from the Canberra region have put their paying jobs on hold, donating skills and materials for this special project, which now includes a revamp of the outside of the house.
They'll definitely get a shock when they get home. By Friday, hopefully, we've got the cubby house in, the house painted, new fences done, new grass, irrigation.
The generosity goes beyond this backyard, with over $80,000 donated to the family through a GoFundMe page.
Originally the goal was $20,000, so I think I checked last night, we're nearly up to $88,000, so it's unbelievable.
Meantime, volunteers will be back on site tomorrow to help make a little girl's dream a reality. Emma LaRouche, 9 News.
Mike Lorigan is next with Sport. And Mike, we've had a history-making Super Bowl.
It does not get better than this, Vanessa. Super Bowl 51. They don't call it the greatest show on earth for nothing, and the Patriots have shown us why. Also ahead, the Raiders put their underwhelming Nines campaign behind them. Ricky Stewart speaks exclusively with 9 News, and fighting words from David Warner as he flies out for Dubai ahead of the Test series against India. The New England Patriots have created history, pulling off the most incredible Super Bowl comeback of all time, defeating the Atlanta Falcons 34-28. But despite the epic game, some would argue it played second fiddle to the halftime show. Pop star Lady Gaga staging a gravity-defying performance.
They say everything's bigger in Texas, and the 51st Super Bowl didn't disappoint. Confined to the stage, though, Elton John, Mark Wahlberg, John Travolta, Chrissy Teigen and John Legend all watching on in the stands. The halftime show, of course, just a distraction from the main event. There was a massive cheer for former President George H.W. Bush, the Texans starting the showdown between the Patriots and the Falcons with the traditional coin toss. But there was nothing traditional about this contest. Star quarterback Tom Brady orchestrating the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history. Touchdown! Down 25 points, New England fought back to tie the game and for the first time ever, force overtime. One final trip into the end zone, securing the team's 5th title in just 13 years.
He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
Along with the many thousands of people here in Houston tonight, millions around America will be partying all night long. For most, this is the biggest night of the year. No one celebrating quite as much, though, as Brady, and there was none prouder than wife Giselle and the kids. In Houston, Laura Turner, 9 News.
What a show. A little closer to home now, Greg Inglis has revealed for the first time just how close he came to leaving the Rabbitohs and signing with Brisbane. GI is thankful for the time Souths gave him to agonise over the decision and is pouring everything into repaying them this season.
There are plenty of reasons for Greg Inglis to smile this season. The shackles are off at South Sydney and they're changing up last year's style.
This year we just come in, just threw that old book out and just started on a clean sheet. This year's just only going to be about this, this group of players.
Communication is the key for the Rabbitohs. More feedback between players and coaching staff, ensuring burnout won't be an issue.
Has Michael Maguire changed the way he coaches the team?
Obviously, just changed a little bit. I think that's just coming from, what we've all learnt as players and as staff in the last few years. More having open conversations between the senior players and himself, and he's been really good.
Inglis is undoubtedly the club's fan favourite, but they'd shudder to learn just how close they came to losing him.
It's well known that you spent a lot of your time on holidays up in Queensland. How seriously did you think about going to Brisbane and leaving South Sydney?
Oh look, there was thought around it. My sales force is actually not pressuring me into making any decisions straight away. They actually gave me time, and I went back to them.
The superstar fullback is desperate to repay the club with another premiership and has warned people not to write off the red and green in 2017.
It's going to be a long road, but I do strongly believe that we can be there towards the end.
Jake Duke, 9 News.
Raiders coach Ricky Stewart says the intensity of the Auckland Nines has given his newest recruits a taste of NRL football. The team will now shift its focus north to the Knights ahead of their final pre-season hit-out.
Back from the land of the long white cloud, Ricky Stewart pleased with the Raiders' performance across the ditch.
I'm not disappointed at all with the result. I'm actually got more out of it this year than I did last year.
The Raiders struggled to contain the rampaging Roosters on Sunday, going down 21-0 at Eden Park. But Stewart says the focus was on blooding his newest players.
It's an experience and education for them in regards to the intensity and the physicality side of the contact and the speed of the game.
Only a few of the side's more senior players went away with the side. Adam Clydesdale and Zach Santo doing their best in an uphill battle.
At the right-hand side, there's a chance to get across the line. I want a bit of double movement, yes.
Nines captain Jeff Lima sharing his experience with the Raw recruits.
He's a wonderful role model for our club. He's a good person, and I love having him around the players, especially when they're in preparation. He's such a professional.
Stewart says the Auckland Nines is a good concept, but has concerns about its scheduling so close to the NRL pre-season. But despite the distraction, Stewart says the Raiders are right on track for round one.
And there's no injury concerns, and we'll give them tomorrow off, and then then we'll be back into preparation.
The team will now turn its attention to their pre-season clash with Newcastle before they take on the Cowboys in round one of the NRL season next month. Harry Frost, 9 News.
Devastating batsman Dave Warner hopes a long stopover in Dubai will be the key to beating India later this month. Warner flew out last night to join his Australian teammates at Dubai's state-of-the-art training complex, where they can prepare for the Test series as if they were already in India.
A fleeting kiss goodbye, and David Warner is bound for Dubai. The vice-captain refreshed after a much-needed week off with his young family.
No, I didn't pick up a bat at all. I actually went out and had a hit of golf. Took the girls down to the beach, swimming lessons. I actually went to the gym and did some sprint training. So got to keep ticking it over. You can't just stop.
It's been a blistering start to the year for the star batsman, who was ordered to rest by Cricket Australia and was clearly missed in the one-day series loss to New Zealand. He has now joined teammates for training at the Dubai Sports City ahead of the crucial Test series against India.
It's got, I think, probably 20 to 30 wickets there from different countries, different soils. So it allows us to practice, obviously, on spin conditions and obviously some green tops as well.
And that's where coach Darren Lehman is preparing his players for the challenging subcontinent conditions.
We've got to go out there and play our best cricket. And that's the only way we're going to beat India. We have to really be on. We've seen the England series, they played fantastic, but India played better. So we just got to play better than the Indians on their home soil, which is going to be very, very tough and very challenging.
There is a nervous weight on skipper Steve Smith, who is battling an ankle injury picked up last month.
Knowing Steve, he'll be fine. He's obviously done the right thing, had that week off and getting it right.
The Test series begins on February 23. Julie Snook, 9 News.
The Diamonds have done it again, defeating England by a single goal to retain the Quad Series title. Susan Petit scored 23 goals in the Aussies' 47-46 victory. Australia's players now turn their attention to the new domestic Super Netball competition beginning on February 18. Head coach Ray Dower will depart Canberra United after a devastating 1-0 loss in extra time to Melbourne City in the W League semi-final overnight. Dower says her decision was made well before the season began and now has her sights set on coaching at a national level.
It was a 120-minute thriller that only lacked a fairy tale finish.
Gutted, really gutted for the girls. That was one heck of a performance.
A tough contest from the outset, both sides peppering the goal, but none were able to find the back of the net. Even the star power of Lisa Devanner and Ellie Brush couldn't get past Melbourne City. Into extra time, Jessica Fishlock broke the deadlock for the visitors, and United was unable to level the score.
It's disappointing that you can play so well over the course of 120 minutes and still be on the wrong side of the result.
Today brought more bad news. Ray Dower announcing her departure from the club, a decision made well before the season had even begun.
It's time for me to go home. As I said, I've been away from family and friends and my partner for some time now, so I need to go home.
The past 4 years has seen Dower guide the club to 2 premierships and a championship. This year, she was looking to the future.
I've always said the club here is in very, very good hands. The playing depth is very strong. The next crop of kids coming through are absolutely outstanding.
Dower will help the club find a new head coach. She's yet to consider her next step, but admits she does have an eye on coaching at a national level. Rosanna Kingson, 9 News.
Brumby scrum half Tom Queanbeyan has been ruled out for the start of the 2017 Super Rugby season. The Argentinian import ruptured his patella tendon during Saturday's pre-season loss to the Waratahs in Mudgee. He'll undergo surgery in Sydney tomorrow. Now, that's it for Sport Tonight. Stay with us. Coming up after the break, Gavin Morris has all your local weather details.
To finance, and markets closed up slightly higher. The All Ords rising 11 points. A dollar down slightly against the greenback, buying 76.66 US cents. Well, it's been a hot one. Now it's time to catch up on the latest weather details. Good evening, Gavin Morris.
Good evening and welcome to a close look at your local weather forecast for the nation's capital and the south coast. It's been a record-breaking summer of heat, the hottest January on record. Electricity use is at an all-time high, but there's good news. Relief is on the way, and we also have a little bit of rain starting to build throughout this afternoon as the cloud cover capped off temperatures for southern New South Wales, mostly in the low 20s, but that hot air still lingering for yet another day. Now, the change is obvious on tonight's satellite image. It has engulfed Victoria, southern New South Wales, the Riverina, and it was increasing across the ACT. And there's good news. There's actually cold air in behind this system. It's not a bad-looking southerly change. There is an intensifying low off the northwest coast of Western Australia that is trying desperately to become a cyclone and dumping huge amounts of rain, and that is adding to their record season of rainfall throughout the northwest. And talking of rain, we've got some on the way, particularly for the coast. We're going to see some decent numbers accumulated over the next 24 hours. If you're travelling around the nation, for Perth storms on the way after a top of 28, beautiful conditions. There has been a wet season in Adelaide, the pool of hot air lingering over central Australia as the cloud increases from the ACT to Sydney. Finally, the basin beginning to cool, but still very hot for Brisbane during tomorrow. Now, tomorrow's winds, they are going to be quite gusty, particularly for the coast. And finally, they are going to win against that pool of hot air over the interior. So temperatures dropping with those easterly winds, a beautiful rain band moving through, some moderate falls. Good numbers are expected on the coast, and they will linger across the Illawarra into the evening. Tomorrow's temperatures only maxing out in the low 20s thanks to that southerly, the cloud cover and the rain moving through. Throughout the southern tablelands, temperatures also quite cool. Headed for the mid-20s for the nation's capital and Queanbeyan, with rain on the way, and that'll be passing during the day and beginning to ease as we move towards the evening period. Out on the waters, strong wind warnings have been issued for the entire coast, so seas up to 2.5–3 metres. It is going to become really quite choppy. The swell is not going to be overly large at 1.5 metres, but it will be building throughout the day. Taking a look at your tidal information, the high is early, just before 6 tomorrow morning, working to the low at about 12:40. Sun up at around about 6:23 and down just after 8. It's a beautiful moon phase with us at the moment, leading up to the next full moon coming up on the 11th. So looking at that forecast leading up to the weekend, the rain moving through tomorrow. Enjoy the cooler conditions because the heat is going to roll back in really quite fast across the nation's capital and the southern tablelands. It's a very similar forecast with the showers clearing, very hot. Trough line moving in, could have some storm development, mostly around the central tablelands, and it is going to be a very hot weekend. For Illawarra, similar story, beautiful southerly moving through, cooler conditions, not bad at night, is going to be very humid indeed. And for the south coast, also very windy, quite cool, and then the heat is going to rebuild as we move towards the up and coming weekend. So it is a little bit of a roller coaster over the next week. Enjoy the cooler conditions because the heat is set to return. I'll be back with a close look at your local weather, same time tomorrow night.
And that's 9 News for this Monday. Tracy is next with a current affair. We'll leave you with pictures from Old Parliament House, a reception for the official launch of 9 News Canberra. I'm Vanessa. Thanks for joining us on our first night. I hope you can join us tomorrow. Good night.